And we welcome you to our Miami Dolphins report. Barry Jackson along with Adam Beasley. Well, meaningful football in December, that's always fun. Dolphins at Steelers on Sunday. A win would be so helpful toward Miami's playoff efforts. And you wonder, on Sunday, are we going to see the Ryan Tannehill we've seen the last couple of weeks? 331 yards passing last week. He's going up against a Pittsburgh secondary that's not the greatest. Mike Wallace has returned to Pittsburgh. Is this the week we finally see an offensive eruption of over 27 points?
We get 4 touchdowns. I mean, that's essentially what the rallying cry is, right? No, I think that, again, the weather's going to be a concern. Wintry mix is what they're calling for. Snow on Saturday, changing to freezing rain on Sunday. That's not a fun way to play. But nonetheless, Pittsburgh's defense is really bad. I mean, they're old, they're thin, they're just not a good defense. And I think this really is the week that the offense really opens it up.
We'll see how this Dolphins secondary does against a Pittsburgh offense that actually has played very well at times, even without Mike Wallace. Antonio Brown leads the league in receptions. Manuel Sanders is a dangerous receiver as well. It's been impressive to see what the Dolphins secondary has done this year, sort of under the radar beyond Brent Grimes' work, but only 1 touchdown allowed to a receiver this year. Of course, they're going to have to make decisions with a bunch of these players. Grimes is a free agent. They want to keep him. Nolan Carroll's a free agent. Chris Clemens is a free agent as well. Have you been surprised at all by how well the secondary's held up, even with Patterson missing a bunch of games?
I mean, I think this entire defense is upside down. Entering the season, we thought, okay, they'll be able to stop the run, but if they have a couple injuries in the secondary, they're in trouble. Well, they can't stop the run. They're 25th in the league, 120-some-odd yards a game, but they're great against the pass. As you mentioned, only 1 passing touchdown allowed to the wide receivers. But not only that, the linebackers are covered pretty well, too. Nell Ellerbe is one of the better covered linebackers in football. He wasn't a very good coverage guy before this year. Now he is, but he can't stop the run. It's just completely mind-boggling how upside down this team is. But yeah, you're right. You would think that if Demetri Patterson had only played 5 games, if they're relying on the likes of Nolan Carroll and Jimmy Wilson to make big-time stops, they'd be in trouble. But they played well, so I think that's really encouraging.
Yeah, you made a great point on Ellerbe. Passer rating in his coverage area, only 59.6. That's best among inside linebackers. Chris Clemens has allowed only 6 completions all year against him. So that defensive backfield and linebacker core has held up better recently. Tight ends have been an issue early in the season when they played Cleveland and also against New Orleans with Jimmy Graham. It's been less of a problem recently aside from Antonio Gates and, of course, Greg Olsen caught a 1-yard touchdown to beat them. But that's a testament to the play of Ellerbe and also the fact that Philip Wheeler, who was awful against tight ends earlier in the season, has been playing better recently. So at this point, Ellerbe and Wheeler probably are at the best they've been all season, which is encouraging. From a running game standpoint, I want to ask you about that. What do you think of Lamar Miller's work last year? They gave him heavy workload, 22 carries, only 3.3 yards per carry. Were you encouraged that we could see Miller being given bigger workload going forward?
I was encouraged to see they actually stuck to the run, even though they weren't incredibly productive. I mean, you would see this team in the past, if they're averaging 3 yards a carry, they'd get away from it because they didn't think it was effective. No, they really set the tone by being able to run the ball in quantity, not necessarily in quality, but you can elongate the game, elongate drives, and they were playing physical football. So I think that is a nice change of pace. It's really astounding that it's well documented how this line completely fell apart. Jonathan Martin's gone, Rich Incognito's gone, Mike Pouncey missed 2 weeks with a gallbladder issue. Yet they're playing better. They allowed, I think, only 1 sack last week against one of the best defenses in football. And they, as I said, they ran the ball in volume. All that is really encouraging for an offense that particularly hasn't been very good this year.
Exactly. Nate Garner's been very competent as a fill-in, as he has the last few years. When you get Nate Garner in smaller doses, he generally tends to be effective. McKinney certainly has been an asset at left tackle. Not perfect, but he's done the job. Claybo's play at right tackle, much improved. And, of course, Pouncey, the one clearly above-average player on their offensive line. You think if the Dolphins win Sunday, if they could somehow do that, and then if you win the Buffalo and the Jets games, no matter what happens in New England, that would give you a 3-1 finish. To me, that might be good enough because Baltimore's remaining schedule is difficult. If Miami goes 3-1, if Baltimore goes 2-2, if it's a 2-way tie for the 6th playoff spot, Miami wins it. But you need to win one of these next 2 games, Pittsburgh or New England.
Right, and here's the scenario. It's really easy. They need either a loss from Baltimore or they need a loss from Cincinnati against a team that isn't Baltimore. And either one of those scenarios, and they're going to control their own destiny. Now, can this team finish 4-0? I mean, that means they would have gone 5 straight to end the season. That's a tall task, particularly because they haven't won more than 3 straight all year, and that was at the beginning of the season. But I really do think you touched on a good point there, is that the Ravens, yeah, they've won 2 in a row, but they're really not still that very good. They beat a not very good Pittsburgh team on Thanksgiving. This isn't a world champion team we're looking at here. This is a team that's like Baltimore. It's going to struggle to get by. Should have probably lost to Miami. I'm sorry, down and then played down here. So I think 9 wins probably is the magic number.
A final thought, besides rooting against the teams that Miami's competing with for a wild card spot, especially Baltimore, Dolphins fans should also root against Cincinnati because there is a chance Baltimore could win that division. They've beaten Cincinnati earlier this year. The Bengals have a somewhat difficult remaining schedule. So if Baltimore can win this division, if the Dolphins finish tied with Cincinnati for the wild card spot, the last wild card spot, then Miami, of course, would win the tiebreaker, having beaten the Bengals on Thanksgiving. For Adam Beasley, Barry Jackson, thanks for watching.